everybody, and welcome to our monthly ambassador briefing. Excited to have everyone join us today. And the topics we will be covering today are caretakers and how to make sure you have the best relationship with caretakers, whether they're family or not, and how you can make sure that the caretakers always know how to take care of you best. And then after that, we will talk about advocacy and what all of you want to do with advocacy. Because we know that each person has their own interests and skills when it comes to advocacy. So we'd love to hear from all of you as to what you all would like to do. So first, we can just get started off with Leanne Williams. Leanne lives outside New Orleans, and she is going to speak about, and she is a home dialysis patient, and she's going to speak about having family serving as the caretakers. And Leanne, you can put on the your video or not. It's up to you.
So I'm having some technical difficulties actually, unfortunately.
Sure, no problem. You can go ahead. So
Okay.
first, can you just tell me what is it like to have family serve as your caregivers?
Okay, so am I echoing?
A little bit.
Okay, that's because I tried to log on my phone. Let's see, I'll just stay on my
Wait,
phone.
wait, I'll mute the other one. Okay, you can go
Okay,
ahead now.
okay, you can hear me?
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
Okay, I can take off this headset.
sure.
So, what was the question? I'm sorry.
So the question is, what is it like having family members serve as your caretakers?
Yes, it's been a very blessed opportunity for me to have my family as caretakers, especially now that I do home dialysis. I think one of the challenges I found when I was doing in center, because I was driving myself and they weren't really involved in any of my care, going to any of my doctor's appointments. They didn't really know or understand what I was going through, but I'm very grateful to have them. So for everyone, I have actually I do home dialysis, and I have three care partners. My grandmother and my sister were trained, and my mother, she couldn't attend the trainings because she couldn't fit around her work schedule, but she kind of just hung out and picked up on things that were going on, and so now she does my trainings. I'm sorry, my treatments mostly every night after work.
Cool. And is there anything you wish you knew in advance before you had family members serve as caretakers?
I really, for me, I wish I just knew like what home dialysis really involved. And so, people see it and they, sometimes can be terrified, thinking, oh my God, goodness, we have to do all of this stuff ourselves when, you go in center, you pretty much just sit down. But I mean, for me, actually going through the training and learning the things that I needed to do, it really wasn't that bad. And it was, I'm able to do it, around my work schedule now, around my travel schedule now. But prior to actually taking the training and just not knowing what all is involved in actually, setting up your treatments, running a treatment, ordering supplies, I think, a lot of, patients know what our experiences are like in center, and we're absolutely terrified to have to do any of that at home. And I think that that can definitely be, a barrier for some people, is just not knowing, what is actually involved in home dialysis.
Sure. And what made you choose home dialysis as your modality?
So I was actually in center. So this coming April will actually be 5 years I've been on dialysis. And so I did about a year and a half in center. And I loved in center. I loved, socializing with the other patients. I had a really good technician who she would teach me, little things about the machine, about, my kidney health, my numbers, where my numbers should be. And so I really liked the in center experience. But I just graduated undergrad and I was starting a master's program. And it was just really hard for me sticking to that, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 o'clock schedule, because for those of us that are, on dialysis, that have ever done instant dialysis, a 1 o'clock treatment time means, you can't really do too much before. And then after dialysis, you're really drained. So I was running 4 hours and 15 minutes. So, by the time I got out, finished up treatment and everything. It was almost 6 o'clock in the evening. You're tired. So it pretty much was just eating dinner and going to bed. And so, I was only maybe 23 years old at the time, and I was still involved in my sorority and doing work within my community. And so I wanted to go on a cruise, and they said with home dialysis, I would be able, to have some more flexibility in terms of traveling. And so that's really what it was, because don't get me wrong, I still traveled when I was in center. I actually went to like 19 different in-center clinics in the span of a year. But it gave me a little more flexibility in setting up my trips in the times that I wanted to travel, because now when I go places, when I'm out of town, I may start a dialysis treatment at midnight because we did what we wanted to do all throughout the day. And so now, we're going to, do a treatment, kind of while everyone else is winding down and sleeping. And I don't have to miss, events or, going on that tour or whatever we're doing when we're out of town.
Sure. And who suggested home dialysis to you?
So it actually, when I was first diagnosed, they had talked about home dialysis, but they had said like 8 to 10 hours a night. And I said, well, that's definitely not going to work because I don't, get sleep enough. I don't sleep 8 to 10 hours a night. But just in center, they had, those the companies have the patient ambassadors who come to talk to those home ambassador advocates that just come out and talk to people about home dialysis. And my only question for them was, will I be able to go on that cruise that I talked about? And they said yes. And I said, I don't care what I have to learn, what I have to do. Sign me up for this. I definitely want to do home dialysis if I can travel.
And did you ever have any difficulty advocating for yourself with your family members being your caretakers? Like,
So that's a very interesting question. So like I mentioned, so when you're training, they want you to train during their regular work hours. So like a 9 to 5. And so the only person that I had that could, train with me 9 to 5 every day for, the 5 or 6 weeks was my grandmother, because she was retired. And so one of the things that the clinic was worried about was her age, because she was older. I think at the time she may have been like 77. And so they were worried about, my care partner being someone older, being able to, help out and do the things that needed to be done. And I said, my thing was, I said, my grandmother is 77 in age, but I was like, that's my girl. She's still really hip. She can, learn this and do this. And so, I had to push back a little because they thought she might have been too old to, help out and do the things that needed to be done to set up the treatment, take down the treatment. But I mean, by the end, and when I go into the clinic, they're still amazed, and they tell other people, we thought, because her grandmother was 77, this wasn't something that she would be able to catch on and do. And she shocked us, she excelled at it. So yes, definitely, having to advocate for my grandmother, being my care partner, actually was one of the biggest things that I had to do.
and is there anything you wish that your family knew earlier in the caretaker process?
I think so in the caretaker process. So, like I say, I live, with my family, and so when I was in center, I think, because like I mentioned, I was doing, everything myself. I drove to my clinic visits, I drove to my dialysis treatments. I don't think they really had a understanding of what all dialysis patients go through and endure, because they know, you're going to treatment and you're coming from treatment, but just the toll dialysis takes on our bodies. I don't think they realized how much that was until I actually started doing home dialysis. And so, experiencing those symptoms at home, and they're seeing, the blood pressure changes and the just, the feelings of tiredness and fatigue that, kind of like washed out feelings sometimes you get. So I think, once they were able to see those feelings in action, being there, because I do about 3.5 hours, 4 days a week now. So, now they get to see exactly, those changes in, like I said, in blood pressure, and just, you get on the machine and you're feeling fine. And when you get off, sometimes, you need a 30 minutes to reset, reboot, get together. And it's always, something different, sometimes you get off, you feel fine, and it's like, okay. And then some days, she gets off and she's not okay. She needs to rest. So I think, switching from in-center to home, they got to get a better understanding of what it's like being a dialysis patient. And I think many, dialysis patients, they may miss out on that, especially for people who they live with, maybe not fully understanding what it is that they're going through sometimes after those treatments.
And I'd like to point out that John put in the comment section that he loves the term care partner, which yes, I apologize. I should have been using care partner the whole time, but I do believe I think care partner is a much better way to describe the relationship that dialysis patients have with the folks that help them out.
Oh, absolutely, yes. They definitely are my care partners, and I'm very grateful for them. And taking out the time because it's a team effort. And that's another thing I like to share. I may be the person on dialysis, but dialysis affects whoever you live with, those people closest to you, because it affects your day-to-day life. When you're having those treatment days, is you're not maybe available to do all of the things you want to do. Or if you're traveling, you and your family may want to go on vacation. So it has to be scheduled around, events are scheduled around your dialysis. So I think it's so important, to have that core group of people you can lean on who, understand, that it's a change in everybody's lifestyle. My grandmother, my mother, my sister are the people that I'm with kind of on the daily basis. And so me being on dialysis has affected all of their lives because, I work full time, my mother works full time. So when we both get off, we both have to, stay up, until 11 or 12, some nights, doing the treatment. So, it affects not just my life, it affects the care partners' lives as well.
And you've told me before that your family, you all will be watching TV together with them being the care partners and helping you out. Do you lose remote control veto, or do you have options into what you watch as well?
So luckily for me, we typically like the same thing. So in my dialysis room, we don't have cable. So we're already limited to kind of like the free TV. So luckily, because we do dialysis typically in the evenings now, it's like prime time. So we have Jeopardy at 6. We have Wheel of Fortune at 6:30. We have whatever prime time shows they show, at 7 and 8 o'clock, and then the news at 9. So we have a pretty, set schedule.
And we have a question here from the comments of how many hours do you dialyze for each night?
Oh yes, so I do. When I first started, I was doing 5 days a week for 2 hours and 45 minutes. But I about a year ago they reduced me to 4 days a week, and so now it's about 3.5 hours.
Okay, thank you. And I'm out of questions for right now. Don't know if you have anything else you want to add before we move on to our next guest.
No, just want to encourage anybody out there who, may be afraid or just to ask questions. Don't be afraid to, talk to your internal technicians, reach out to your kidney health team. There are tons of resources online about home dialysis. So if you, are thinking about it, have questions about it, don't be afraid. And also if you don't have just like a mom or, somebody close who may be a care partner, there are other people you would be surprised in your community. They have people that have neighbors that have become their care partner, pastors. So don't be afraid to ask someone. If you can't think of someone right away to be a care partner, there's someone out there that would be willing to help you. Just
Cool.
ask.
Oh, thanks a lot for your time, Leanne. And uh, Allison, if I believe you're calling in.
Yep,
Okay, good. So
I'm
just
here.
want to do a quick introduction for Allison. Allison Rasher is from Potomac, Maryland, which is actually very close to our offices in Rockville, Maryland. And her son was actually chosen as one of the calendar kids this year in the calendar that the American Kidney Fund puts together for kids who have kids who are on dialysis or have kidney disease. So Allison, just like to thank you for joining us today on the phone, and just want to start off by same questions I asked Leanne is how sort of could you describe being the care partner experience?
Sure. So my son is 11 years old now. And he has a genetic kidney disease that first presented when he was 8. So, we're still kind of new to all of this, and kidney health, which, I have to say, almost 3 years ago, honestly, I really knew nothing about kidneys or kidney health. I thought he had appendicitis, which was what brought us to the pediatrician early that morning. So being his caregiver, I'll be honest, with a young child, it can be very overwhelming and emotional, because I feel like, when he says he doesn't feel well, it's now with his diagnosis, it's almost like ratcheted up, almost like 1,000 more times, trying to.
Oh, I'm hanging in there. How are you doing?
Sorry, can I ask everyone to mute themselves if you're...
Right,
Sorry, Allison, I just muted everybody, so if you could unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So being his caregiver, as I was saying, can be, like everyone, can be overwhelming when it's a child, because, any time he seems symptomatic, it's trying to ascertain, what's normal 11-year-old boy kind of behavior or feelings, and what could be, we got to get to the ER. So I think, that's one of the major, I think, struggles we have, my husband and I, with caregiving to a child with a kidney disease.
And are there things that you wish you knew earlier in your time as being a care partner?
Yeah, I mean, aside from the fact that I really virtually knew nothing about kidneys, I naively, I didn't even know, that heart and kidneys are linked. So, when he was admitted, I was confused, because he was on the, heart and kidney floor, and he was having heart issues too, which, I've since learned that all goes hand in hand when, you're kind of in kidney failure and needing surgery. And I think also to be, especially for a child, even for an adult, to be his biggest advocate, to make sure, we're trying to think of every question, to utilize every resource, even, on the internet, with the American Kidney Fund, with, the particular disease he has, cystinuria. There's a group of people that share experiences. So, I think when you find yourself in the throes of it as a caregiver, you want to learn as much as you can, as quickly as you can, so you can figure out what will work best for your child.
And with it being sort of a unique case with this group of you being the care partner for a child, is there anything you wish your son knew earlier? Like, are there different coping or self-advocacy techniques that he's learned over the short amount of years, that maybe instead of him knowing it at 11, maybe working with him on it at 8 years old?
Yeah, one thing that I have learned from him, I should mention, is how resilient children really are. Mm-hmm. The things that he has gone through, which so many people do, but often many of us, it's not till like later in life, or he knows all about. When I take him to any doctor's appointment, his first question is, will there be a catheter? That's his first concern. He knows all about catheters, all about, stents, all about his blood pressure. And so I think some of the kind of the gifts that he now has through this challenge, this health challenge, is he's learning. We've talked all about sodium. Mm-hmm. We've taught him how to read labels on all of his food. He is now acutely aware of fast food and, how horrible it is for a kidney patient with the sodium levels.
Sure.
And in that respect, he's really becoming his own advocate. that he can read the nutritional labels on food, and he can say, okay, I can have, one serving of this or maybe two, but at the end of the day, I will have already reached my sodium intake. He has to drink a lot of water, and he has learned how high the jug has to be, and how much he can drink in the course of a day. And he has learned to swallow pills, which he could not do 2 years ago. So, I mean, those things are somewhat gifts. And I also think, emotionally, it has been hard for him. He had one of his kidneys removed as a result of this disease. And, for a long time, there's certain sports he cannot participate in. And, that delicate line as a parent and also as a kid of wanting to be a part of everything, but also knowing what could be too much and how to explain it to his friends.
Mhm.
Your typical fifth grader doesn't really think about their kidneys, but he's had the opportunity to educate, some of his close friends, not the whole class as a whole. But and you would be amazed. The school that he goes to, initially, there's all the protocols even before COVID, but all the protocols of being able to get up to go to the bathroom and to have water. And, he was the one that said to his urologist, I have to, you can't just get up and leave to go to the bathroom at my school. You have to raise your hand and be asked.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not allowed to have water, water bottles. And the doctor was like, yeah, that's not going to work. So he has permission. And I do feel like he even said to one of his teachers, I think it was last year, everybody should have a water bottle, everybody should drink water, and just the things he's put in place for himself and to educate others. And even the bathroom, he has like a little code. He puts a little bracelet on his desk, and that lets the teacher know he has to go to the bathroom. And there's no questions asked. So, those little things you don't really think about that are really big deals to children. They don't want to be different. They want to just blend in, a lot of them,
Sure. And can you talk about the support you've been able to find with connecting with other caregivers and care partners?
Yeah, in terms of his particular illness, I have to admit, it's so rare. I don't know anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So it is kind of lonely. And I mean, I'm just going to be perfectly honest, the stress and the emotion about, not to sound too kind of crazy, but like just projecting what his life, in the future, it can be overwhelming at times when I dwell on it too much. So support wise, I mean, I'm hoping this forum could be a source of support, for me and my family. He has 2 older brothers also, so they're involved in, his care, and, everybody in the family is now aware of this, that Terrence has to drink his water and take his meds and all. But I do think emotionally it can be a very lonely thing. Not a whole lot of people understand, kids with kidney disease. And, so I think that's been a challenge. I do a lot personally with, meditation and prayer and, some things just personally to try to deal with the stress and the worry. And, just staying on top of appointments and his levels and all that, I think is, the reality of keeping up with it.
Thank you. Thank you, Allison.
Sure.
I guess that's it for my questions. I don't know if there's anything else you would like to add, anything I didn't touch on yet?
No, I mean, I'm very grateful that, I kind of stumbled upon the American Kidney Fund, and, it's been a blessing so far to our family. And, Terrence, loved getting that phone call that he was going to be a part of the calendar. So I feel for everybody involved. It's, not something that's, really talked about a lot unless you know somebody dealing with it. But kidney health is so critical to everything that, I hope it gets more strongly talked about and and gets out there more, so people don't feel so alone and really take care of themselves.
Thank you. And Allison, we have gotten some messages here from participants that would like to connect with you. So since you're on the
Okay.
phone and not on video, you can't see them, I'll just email you and connect you with
Okay.
with the folks here.
Oh,
And-
great. Thank you.
And so I wanted to thank both Leanne and Allison for sharing today. And I'm glad that you stumbled into the American Kidney Fund. We are happy to take ambassadors that reach us through any